Welcome in. It is day 348, and you're speaking to the Meeple's Champion. And today, we're going to be jumping back into the Dixit universe with a game called Stella. Now, Stella is interesting as it can merge with all of your Dixit games. The concept is that, unlike in Dixit where you got a hand of cards, in this game we're all sharing a large community of cards. You're going to have 3 rows of 5 cards. You're going to put them on the game face up. Now, you're going to have a total of 4 rounds in this game. On the first round, you flip over a card, and it's going to give you either a single word or 2 words, whatever area you're set up at the time as. You're going to select one of those words, and everybody now has to go and mark up their boards. What you're going to do is you have a dry erase board that is set up the same way as the board of all your 15 cards. You have to at least pick one, and pick up to potentially 10 different of these to put out and mark. Now, starting at the first player, once everybody says they're good and they've put their pens down, you usually signify this by passing your pen to your left. Once you have finished, you are now going to have the first player select one of the cards on the board that they marked as an X. You're not showing what you picked. You're simply saying, I marked this as an X. And everybody at the table is then going to raise their hand who also marked it. Now, if you have everybody raise their hand, then you're going to just fill in 2 stars. If you have only one other player raise their hand, you're going to fill in 3 stars. And if nobody else raises their hand, you have been knocked out. What does this mean? So what it means is that you're trying to basically, not only are you trying to get people to team up with you, you're also attempting to see if you can be able to correctly figure out which cards people would have chosen. It is really good to get 1 and 1. So if you're playing a 6-player game and you've got one other person that also selected a card, that's perfect. You're getting max value. But as long as you have 2 or 3 or 4 or even all 6 of you get that card, you're good. Now, what happens when you have nobody is that you no longer can score for the round and you have to back out. You still identify when you have picked something for other people's scoring, but not for your own. Now, once you've finished, the next player gets up and their turn is to select again one of their X's. You're going to continue doing this until eventually either everybody has been knocked out or we've finished up and you've had all the different possible cards selected. Now, once you've done this, what you do is you have a few things you're looking at. First of all is you see if any player got switched to the knight. The knight is based on the total number of the X's made. So you'll see who has the most X's. You'll put yourselves up to those so people are all aware, and you're going to have whoever's at the very top be flipped. But if there's a tie, nobody's at the knight. Then you're going to go through and you're going to be trying to figure out who gets what for points. Now the point values come in a couple different ways. One is that you're going to be losing 1 star on every spot based on if you were the one that had the knight. So you don't want to be the person picking the most. If you pick all 10 and nobody else picks 10, that's great. The odds are you're going to get to score all yours. But what it means is that, one, every one of those, let's say that every one of them have 3 people. So that means you're going to be filling in only 2 stars. You're going to lose a star on every one of them. Now you've lost. If you had all 10 picked, you lose 10 stars. You've lost half your points. Even if you are, now if you have everybody team up for the 2, so you basically are like, oh, well, all 10 of mine, I had only 1 person every time, so I actually got 30 stars. You're still losing 10 stars. So that's not good to have the most. You're losing a lot when that happens. And if you got knocked out at some point, even if you picked the most with 10, that leaves 5. Well, if everybody else had small amounts chosen, and for whatever reason, a bunch of them were in those 5, you could be running into the issue now of, well, I didn't think it would happen, but somehow I keep on having these ones be the one, and you might get knocked out early. It could even just be that one of the 10 you picked is just one that nobody had, and that somehow you thought it was popular. So it doesn't guarantee you that you're going to get all those flipped and get points. So doing that is a big risk because you're going to lose stuff no matter what. You're going to go through the round, you're going to figure it out, and then once you've gotten all that figured out, you've figured out everyone that you've matched up with, you've gotten your stars filled in, you've eliminated the stars of the person who went to knight, you're going to count your stars remaining, you're going to fill in that number, and that's your score for the round. Now you're going to flip over round 1's token, it's going to show you a row on the board, and that row gets wiped out and gets replaced with 5 new cards. You're going to have a second round, you score, you're going to flip, wipe out another row, and 5 new cards. You're going to do it a third time, you're going to wipe out another row, 5 new cards, and then the fourth round will come. You'll do one more scoring, and now you add up your 4 scores together and see who wins. It's a really simple game. I think that it's a fantastic game to bring in with Dixit because it's such a different way of playing, and yet you get to use all these cards again. You find a new way to put them to use. I really think that this is an inventive way of giving a game that you can buy on its own and yet brings more life back to a game that can get a little bit old after a while. So that's the basics, but why don't we jump in? Let's talk our 7 categories and see where this game lands for us. Surprise, surprise, when it comes to the art, I don't care if you're talking about the cards or if you're talking about the board, the box itself. This game is all about art. It is fabulous. It is fantastic. It's constantly updating based on the expansions. Huge thumbs up. Your components. So this one has a little bit more than the last game, as instead of just having cards, which is still 95%, you now have your dry erase boards with your dry erasers, and you have your tokens that represent the round. For me, I feel like everything here is really great. Yes, I understand that the dry erase markers can be an issue sometimes, but I've said before, I don't hold that against games, as that's a really hard part to get down. That being said, I think this is really well put together. Thumbs up. Your price. This game's coming in around $40. It's available, but it's not in every store. Maybe 2 out of 5. I haven't seen this in a Barnes & Noble or in a Target yet. It is online, and it's just one of those games that I think is completely worth it because it's great on its own, but if you have Dixit, you're revitalizing another game at the same time as getting this one. So to me, this is completely worth its price. Thumbs up. Your difficulty. The difficulty is that this is one of those games that, to me, a beginner will love and an experienced will love. An expert, I think that this is a good one to bring in because experts now can use Dixit and Stella together and flip a little bit back and forth, giving the game a little bit of maneuverability. But it's still a little bit more party game, so experts may not be a huge fan. And for me, I think it's a good one to help teach kids communication, but we also have to identify that sometimes kids aren't thinking the way that we are, and they may not mix in well with us. They may not even mix out with each other. But it's a great teaching game, so even though I don't think this is a game that may be the most fun for them, I think that it's one that I would include as I want them to try to be working with me and communicating and learning how to identify things on cards. So I think it's a great game really for all levels. Thumbs up. Your replayability. This is a game that can be played multiple times in a row. It doesn't take long. Realistically, you should be taking 5 minutes a round. It's a 20-minute game, maybe 30 minutes with, people who take a little bit longer, or depending on how long the round goes before everybody gets X'd out. But in general, it's not that long. You can play this 2, 3, 4 games in a row. And I think it's a game that, while you may not be playing it monthly, it'll come out for holidays and family get-togethers. And for the right friend group, not every friend group's going to jump at this, but those who do, this will be a really big hit. So for me, thumbs up. Keys to victory. The keys are quite simple in this game. Your keys are you trying to hone in and communicate with one particular player? You're trying to see what they're going to connect with you on? Are you trying to just go with generic and make sure that you have everybody on your side? Are you trying to make sure that when somebody, when it gets to you, that you don't get X'd out because you're able to really focus in and let people know, like, all right, I know this is something somebody's going to get. It's all about the communication and how well you can think that the other players are thinking and how well you can anticipate they'll think like you. So playing with, a wife, a parent, a sibling, a kid, really good because it's going to get opportunity for that. But you have to also be aware that there's a lot more than just you and one other player, and everybody may not be thinking about you. They may be thinking about each other, and you're kind of being left on the outside, and it's your job to fill in that gap. But overall, are the keys there? There are some. I don't think this is a massive amount of keys, but there's enough for the game to work. It's a thumbs up. is the game unique? The game brings over what it's doing as far as using the cards, communicating with one word from Dixit. So in that way, it's not unique. What makes it unique to me is this whole setup of marking off on the board and you then having to not only figure out what people might choose, but when it's your turn up, being able to identify which of your guesses is the one that's most likely to have somebody else. It's okay if somebody else picks and you aren't there. You don't get eliminated on that. It's only when you're the one in charge of picking the active card that you're potentially going to be eliminated if nobody has it. So adding in that element to me is such an interesting and unique factor because it takes what Dixit did and it brings that complexity up a whole level. It makes that competition so much bigger because now you have to both communicate during your selection period and during your choice period, and that's huge. So to me, that actually does make this thumbs up, unique. Overall, what do I think? If you have Dixit, don't even try, buy this game, as long as you like Dixit. If you don't have Dixit, I suggest that you go out, you give one of these games a try, and then if you like one of them, just pick up both of them. I think that this is a really great addition. It's a fantastic add-on to a game that was already really fun and one of my favorite party games, and it's one of these games that is going to last me for a while. Well, it has been day 348, and we've been speaking about the game Stella from the Dixit universe. And you've been speaking to the Meeple's champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description. I'll be adding in an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. And don't forget to check me out on Board Game Arena under the name The Meeple's Champion. Send me a game request, a friend request. I try to be on a couple times a day. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.